right. Hi, I'm Margaret and welcome to Garden School. Well, we are in the season of fall, and while there's still lots and lots of leaves yet to fall off those deciduous trees, some are starting to fall. So I wanted to think about what should we do with those leaves as they fall? Well, there's a couple of things we need to do. If your leaves are covering a sidewalk or a pathway, of course you want to clean that off so it's not a hazard for slipping and falling, especially as it gets rainy and cold and icy. So think about that. You could just sweep them or rake them onto the side borders. That'll be fine. Or you can actually rake them up and put them in a pile. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, if you have leaves on a lawn area, what you want to do for sure is to rake those up and get them off the lawn. Because if there's a thick layer of leaves, that can really damage your lawn during the winter. So the best practice is to go ahead and rake those off the lawn as much as you can. Now, of course, when you have big leaves like these big leaf maples, they do a lot of coverage. Smaller leaves, maybe from a willow or something, well, it just depends on how many leaves you've got. Best idea is to try to get those leaves off so that sunlight that we do get during our winter time can get to those grass plants. So about that pile of leaves that I talked about. Well, if you rake up your leaves from your pathways or from your lawn or other areas and make them into a nice pile, you can put them in your yard waste bin. And many communities have programs in which the company will come and pick up your yard waste, including your leaves that have fallen, and take them to a site where they're composted and processed into some beautiful products that you can then purchase for mulching and for composting in the spring and the summer. That's a great option. Keep it local, keep the cycle going on. It's just not happening there on your property. But if you have a small area on your property where you can do some leaf composting, you can create some nice mold, leaf mold, and mulch that will be really advantageous to your garden. What I would suggest doing, there's several things. You could build a little structure, like maybe a 3-sided wooden structure, and then just pile those dried leaves in as you're raking them up and collecting them. Let them sit, and or you could make a little structure maybe out of some sheep fencing or something like that, a little cylinder. Lots of airflow can be accessed there to the leaves and to the fungi and the microbes that are decomposing those leaves. Well, one thing we do want to think about is that leaves, dried leaves, have lots and lots of carbon. But those microbes, those fungi, they need to have nitrogen as well to decompose the leaves. Well, where does the nitrogen come from? It can come out of the soil. If you've got leaves down, in fact, in nature, in the forest, that's where most of the nitrogen would come from, the soil, or fallen green leaves or things like that. But in your little pile that you want to do at your home, what you can do is add a little bit of grass clippings if you have a lawn, if you have access to grass clippings, or you could just add some iris leaves as you're cleaning up and doing a little trimming of things that are still green. Add a little bit of that. That can be the nitrogen source. You could also do something like cottonseed meal or a product that's heavy in nitrogen. You do want to have some nitrogen added so that decomposition can be maximized. And in that beautiful pile that you make, it will be, the next spring, those leaves, depending on what kind of leaves, they may be decomposed quite nicely, ready to lay out as a compost or a mulch, or they may not be. And some leaves take a long time to decompose, like oak leaves. They seem to be one that doesn't break down very quickly. But there are others that do break down real quickly. So that's just something to think about. What do I do with my leaves? Well, clean up your areas so that it's not a hazard. Clean up your lawn so that it's going to survive and hopefully thrive. And then think about your yard waste bin and that collection that can happen, or just composting some on your own property. And it can be as much as you want. You can try it, see if it works. Well, anyway, there's kind of a freebie because you'd be making your own beautiful compost. So that's just something to think about here as we're getting into fall. Now, I hope to show you in a couple weeks the little structure that I'm going to make when we have more leaves that have fallen and I can start my little composting, my little leaf mold production area. Well, there's always more to learn in the garden. Bye-bye.